Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Yvonne and you are on GingerChickRehab, where I love to take thrifted finds and make them over and share the process with you all of what I do to these items to get them back out there into beautiful home decor. So in today's video, at a recent auction, I got my hands on and brought home some beautiful large swans. One set were a little bit less to be desired because of the color, and then another one was dropped and broken. Oh, my heart was so sad about that. But that's what I love to do. I love to make things over, and part of making things over is fixing things. So let me share the process, what I do to these ugly ducklings to get them into beautiful swans. So I'm going to start off this video by working on the white set of swans. I don't know if that was actually the color they were supposed to be, or over time they turned that kind of smoky, like smoky yellow. I don't know. So I think that is why I got them at such a great deal, is because the color, well, all the dirt that was on them, but the color. Us pickers don't mind a little dirt, but the color, I don't know what's going on with that color. And is there smoke damage? That I'm not sure either. I love that they have a glass eye. I love the detail. And they're actually resin and not wood. These are solid resin pieces that appear to have been carved. So we have a lot of cleaning to do to get just the first layer of dust, and then getting down into the crevices to get everything all cleaned. And these are such a big, they're big. They are so huge that I have to have my own little cart going on for each one of them. This is what I'm talking about, that yellow, that really bright yellow, and it's only on the one, so I don't know if it was like a smoke damage. It's not coming off when I wash it, or maybe it was just how they were made. And then I got them all cleaned up, I let them dry, and then I start to spray paint them, giving a good primer coat of the Rust-Oleum's enamel spray paint in flat black. But I got almost ahead of myself, and I'm like, oh, hold on, I have to stop. I forgot to put some Vaseline on these glass eyes. I don't want to get those painted. I want those to stay as is. So a little Vaseline will protect them from the paint, and it'll be easily able to wipe off when we finish the whole project. So I actually let this dry for 24 hours because, one, that the resin, and two, we had some humidity, some rain going on. So I really wanted to make sure that it was good and cured. I want to make these pair of swans be the white that I envision them to be. So I'm using some of Fusion's paint in the color Parchment. Parchment is a wonderful color. It's not that really stark, bright blue white, but it's also not that creamy, yellowy white. It is just a nice, soft white. And if you have not used Fusion paint, it is a primer, paint, and top coat all in one, and it goes on so nice and smooth. So I just like to go slow. I like to not have a lot of paint on my brush. And I planned on switching over to my other brush, but I ended up painting this whole thing with the fan brush, and it worked out just fine. Just a small brush, just trying to get it into all those detailed areas, leaving the eyes out, leaving the bill out until the end. But it's just going on so nice and smooth, and isn't that not just a glorious white? That I have the whole thing painted, I'm just going to give it a very light misting, just some water in a mister bottle just to help smooth out the paint, any brush strokes that may have happened. But this is resin, so resin is, the paint is just sitting on there, so I want to make sure that I stand by just in case I get too much water anywhere that I need to brush that out. So now I'm on to my second coat, and I did switch I did switch over. Have you ever done that? You think, oh, I'm just going to do these detail areas of the face with this brush, and then next thing you know, you're painting it all with this smaller brush. But it was just easier. It was fine. So now I'm just doing the second coat, and the coverage is amazing. I think that 2 coats looks like it's probably going to cover these. So after my second coat was dry, I went back in and I'm doing a little bit of de-stressing, just some 220 sandpaper. I want these to look fresh, but I don't want them to look like in your face. I just painted these. So personal preference is to distress the piece and get some of that black to show through. And a lot of times the original color will come through too, but I'm just trying to hit the detailed areas of the carved areas, the wings, anywhere that natural wear and tear would be, just letting the sandpaper do its work. So after I got these the way that I wanted them to be distressed, I think it looks beautiful, just the right amount of age. I'm sealing everything all in and giving it a nice coat of Varathane's natural clear wax. So my next piece is a sad story. Oh, is this not heartbreaking? But that's what we do, y'all. That's part of painting. It's not just changing a color and making something. It's about fixing the piece. It's the whole story of what we do is repairing and fixing and giving new life and letting it live on. And I'm so glad that somebody didn't just throw this piece into the dumpster. Oh, am I so glad that they did not. But I'm starting off with some CA glue. I'm trying to piece a few of the pieces back together just the way that this is constructed. Whether it stays that way, we'll see how it works. Because, of course, when pieces break off, they don't always just go back right into place. And this one is hollow. It is hollow. So I need to do some backfilling to get something to press against the inside of these to help some of these pieces stay there. When I showed this on my auction haul, I had so many of the viewers thinking the same I was. Fill it up with some spray foam. Get that body filled up, cut that spray foam down, and then glue everything in place. And you know what? My first can of spray foam I got, I didn't know there was such thing as a dud spray foam. But I did. I had one that it wasn't expanding at all. But that's okay. I used up what I had and then I ran to the hardware store. Luckily, there was a hardware store in our new town and got a new can. But yeah, no matter what I did, I'm like, this spray foam is a dud. I'm like, no, I'm going to finish this project. But anyway, yes, I filled this up with spray foam. So for those of you who've used spray foam, you know that this was the whole can and it should have been just squirting out of the swan. But for whatever reason, it was not. Even I shook it. I don't know what was going on. What I'm going to try to do, attempt to do anyway, is to see if I can stick a couple of the pieces back in here. I had to, like, kind of saw them a little bit, and, I got one piece in there because I know the spray foam's sticky enough, and then I just decided, it's really just not going to fit in the front. I think I can get that back piece back on, but I'm not going to worry about any more of the pieces on the front. The one is just going to be good enough. So this is what it looks like with the second can of spray foam. I didn't have to use the whole can, but yes, it's starting to squirt out the way I wanted it. I'm just kind of wiping some of it off. I put a piece of tape to hold the one piece, and I don't know where that was in the filming, but the one big piece was still all attached. Wasn't in little shards like the others, so I just went ahead and taped that on to kind of control it so it didn't sink in. And now I'm just kind of wiping it off. It's this is a repair job. It's kind of like drywall where you use that piece of fiberglass to help the fix. But yes, so now that it is all dry, I'm going to go ahead and scrape off the excess. So this is step one. This is not the final repair part of the process. This is just step one. And I'm sorry about the paint on my hands because I'm always working on multiple items when I'm in the studio. So my main purpose was to fill that void up, to give it a nice solid surface, and we have a solid surface. Is it an even surface? Oh no, not by any means. That whole next just shifted and not anything that I could just repair. Now my second step is Bondo. I love this stuff, so I like that it sets up so fast. So you got to work fast, and I'm going to need a lot of it to fill in the void. So this is the wood filler one that you mix in with a hardener. As soon as you start mixing it, it starts to harden. I'm sorry that I do not have the camera at a good angle. I needed to move the camera, but then I had already mixed up the Bondo, and I'm like, oh, well, I have to start applying it. I don't have time to move my camera around. So I'm just trying to fill in that divot that it's left, and of course, it's on a curved feature. So like the swan itself is resin. It is not wood, and then it was a carved wood, so it kind of has a wood grain to it. But where I'm going to be putting the Bondo, of course, it's not going to necessarily, there's not going to be any of that wood grain. And then I need to go up on the neck. So I really need to try to round. And then the neck and the body were two parts. So there's the seam there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and fill in that whole seam where the chunk is on the front, where they attach the two together. I'm just going to fill in so it's almost flawless. It's not like it was just those shards that were broken off. The whole front has cracking going on all the way to the one side of the wing. So I kind of have to work. I'm trying to smooth it out as much as I can so save myself some sanding. But I'm trying to see where all the crackage is and do I have the divot filled in enough? And this is where I'm like, I'm just going to just keep filling it in. And you can build it on top of each other. You know, you can build up with Bondo. That's the nice thing because it will dry all the way through. So here it is. Is it pretty? No, not so much. So you can tell on that side where I'm like, yep, it's done. It is hardened. It's not going to be, I'm not going to be able to get this any smoother, but I think I got all the crevices and I have it built up enough that in like 10 minutes, I can probably start sanding this. Actually, this is less than 10 minutes. So I'm using my mouse sander to try to get most of it that I can that I don't. I'm going to end up having to hand sand some just the way that the body, that little swoopage is, but I'm going to try my best to get as much as I can with some 220 sandpaper. I think, yeah, I'm only using a 220 sandpaper, and this was less than 10 minutes. The longer you let Bondo sit, the harder it gets to sand. I have sanded all I could with the power sander that I have on hand, so now I'm just going back in and hand sand it. So really, as long as I'm not letting it sit for hours, you can hand sand it. You don't necessarily have to have a power sander. It saves your hand if you do, but yes, I am able to get this nice and flat. And now, not only am I going to sand the area where I put the Bondo, make everything blend, I'm going to go ahead and sand the rest of the piece a little bit one, that'll give something for my paint to grab onto, and two, I want to remove some of the grain texture because the whole piece had a wood grain texture to it, and I'm not going to be able to match that up. So leaving a little bit here and there will match back into the neck a little bit more than me trying to fake a graining technique that I cannot match up. Now, I'd like to say that I was wonderful with my Bondo and everything is nice and smooth. Nope, it's not. But 99% of it is. So I'm going to go back in with just some wood filler spackle and fill in all these little divots. So step number 3. Now that is dry, I can go back and hand sand it. Yeah, this is just going to give it a much smoother texture. Like I said, when you start mixing up that Bondo, it starts automatically curing, automatically hardening. So it's really hard to do some details. I could have mixed up a couple batches, but it's okay. I mean, going back in with a little wood filler is really no big deal. I'm just taking a wet wipe over the whole area. Now that's not going to affect the Bondo at all because that's hard, but anywhere I did the wood filler, I'm just trying to give it, like once I spray this and once I seal this in, I'm not going to be able to just easily smooth things out. So I'm trying to go back and critique any of my areas just a little bit, and just a wet wipe will help you get that a little bit smoother finish, especially when you're working with a wood filler. And then now it's time to clean this piece off because I want to start the painting process. So it was funny because I just kept wiping this piece off and wiping this piece off and wiping this piece off. And my wet wipe, I don't know if it was taking the color off. They're just Clorox wipes. I mean, I've used them, but I probably went through a couple dozen and I'm like, am I just taking the paint off of there? Was it not sealed in? I really don't know. I wanted to get my piece clean, but I'm like, yeah, you guys, that's what it kept looking like. Before I can start painting the piece, I need to even out the porosity. So where the Bondo and the wood filler is, and just give a nice coating on this, I'm spraying it with a couple coats of shellac. That's going to act as a primer. That's going to act as a porosity filler. It's funny because I really hadn't flipped this piece over really until now after I had gotten it cleaned, and I did not notice that it was signed and it was dated, which is very cool. And there's a little bit of crackage on the bottom, but I'm already done. I'm done. I'm done doing any of the fillers, so it's just going to be what it's going to be. But we're getting this primed with that same enamel paint. I'm not worried about the little metal. That little metal piece that they have there is to support it so it lays even, which is wonderful. But I'm just going to go ahead and cover that up with the black spray paint. And of course, it decided to rain, so I'm having to spray paint inside. There again, I almost got ahead of myself and didn't put Vaseline on the glass eyes. Whew, I'm glad I caught it. So for this one, I am going to be painting it black. Black Lantern, Sweet Pickins, Milk Paint. And you're probably already thinking, Yvonne, it's already black. Why are you painting? It will be a different texture of black. I was really just using the spray paint to even out and act as a primer. But I do want to have, I love milk paint because it gives it that old-timey paint look to it that is aged and cracked and crackled and hopefully some chippiness. So I do have a purpose, and I know you're like, why did you choose black? Because black hides imperfections. If I would paint this swan white, every little area that I fix would just stick out like a sore thumb. I actually have not measured the size of these swans. They're just huge. They are huge. Nothing I plan on shipping by any means. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just sharing with you the process of me fixing and repairing and making these over. They are just way too large, and I cannot imagine trying to fit them into a box and how much bubble wrap I would be using. If you ever bought something from me, you know I probably overuse bubble wrap, but I try to be as safe as possible when I'm shipping. But I'm going to go ahead and start off the bottom and work from there because there's so many angles to this piece, and I want to be careful of the neck because it is awkward and heavy when you have to lay it on its side. So once I get it applied to the bottom half, I'm going to go ahead and take the heat gun, dry that first coat, then apply the second coat. I kind of mixed my milk paint up a little bit thicker so I didn't have to worry about like it drips and runs or anything like that. I really wanted it to be on there. And then using the mister bottle is just helping me spread the paint around a little bit easier. But what I am looking for is not a smooth paint job. I am looking for crackles and crazing and chippiness just like this. I don't want that even smooth paint job on this piece. I want this piece to look like it has the age that it should have if it wasn't broken. And then I guess if it wasn't painted and not a resin piece. But I'm going to finish the bottom up before moving on to the top. I don't want to have to worry about going back and forth. So I'm just finishing and sealing this in with some Jolie's black wax. So it'll be a wax on and wipe off the excess. And if some of the chippiness comes off, that's perfect. I would love to see some of that brown peeking through, and then it'll fill in those cracks and really emphasize all that crazing. And I don't know if you can tell on camera how nervous I am every time I have to grab this beautiful beast from its head and the neck and flip it around to get those angles that I want. I'm like, don't you fall off my cart. So now it's time to work on the top of this beauty. So I'm just misting it a little bit. I can really already tell where I painted. You may not be able to see it on camera, but there is a definite difference between the spray paint color black and the Sweet Pickins Lantern color, and I can see where I stopped and started, and then I kind of know. So I'm just going to butt that right up with each other. Yes, that is what I am looking for. I'm looking for crackles. I'm looking for crazing. I'm looking for chippiness. I'm looking for some of that brown to show through. And even though I'm waxing over top of it, you think that that is covering it up. But once I wipe it off and it dries, you'll see it'll come right back out. It is just absolutely amazing. It's here, there, not consistent, that perfectly imperfect of how milk paint reacts. So now I need to uncover my eyes. I need to see what color my eyes are. Well, what color the swan's eyes are, because I want to color match. The thing when I Googled, searched black swans, is they had a very red beak. So I'm going to try to match that. Probably not as bright as what the picture is, but coming close enough. So mixing curry up with the cherry pie and then just kind of tweaking it here and there. We'll see if we get a color match. And then I'm going to blend this in with some of the black wax. It's going to look scary at first, but trust me, it's going to seal in that paint and it's going to give it that perfectly imperfect of unevenness, and it was really going to tie in it once I wipe it off. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Yes, just changing a color. I don't know if that resin had changed over time and yellowed like that, because that one had that weirdness on it. I wasn't sure, but beautiful white swans. When I think of a swan, I think of crisp white like that. Okay, well then there's always the black swan, because when fixing that swan, it's that perfectly imperfect. I think I did a darn good job actually, between the spray foam and then sticking what pieces I could get in there back in there, and then bondoing and a little bit of wood filler. Did it take some time? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it did, but I was up to the challenge for a $5 swan. y'all, I know a good portion of y'all watching today would have picked that swan up too for $5 and did the same thing I did, because I know down in the comments when I shared it in my haul, you were all like, this is what I would do. And I'm like, yep, you're right down the same thinking that I am. So thanks again for watching today's video. And I know I could have painted it white, but I don't know, there's something about that long neck and that, yeah, the wood was beautiful. The brown was beautiful, but yeah, I like it black. So anyway, again, thanks for watching, guys. And as always, if you're part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you stayed to the end of the video and you're not part of our YouTube family, you liked what you saw, so smash that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.